Close your eyes. It's January 2018, a conference stage in Dallas, Texas. Hundreds of people are chanting a name: BitConnect, BitConnect, BitConnect. A man named Carlos Matos grabs the microphone and starts screaming. He throws his arms in the air. He asks the crowd if they're ready to be rich. They scream back, yes. He asks again, louder. They scream louder. The clip will become one of the most watched videos in crypto history. People will make memes out of it for years. What almost nobody in that room knows yet is that 8 days from now, the whole thing will collapse. 1,400% annual returns, gone. The platform gone. The founders gone. $2 billion, vanished. But beneath this veneer of celebration lies an intricate web of deception. BitConnect was a Ponzi scheme, a financial mirage that promised returns of up to 40% per month. It was a platform built on promises as hollow as the shell companies that housed its operations. Investors lured by these extraordinary returns flocked to it in droves, depositing their hard-earned money in hopes of a quick profit. By the time the scheme unraveled in January 2018, it had raised an estimated $2.5 billion from hundreds of thousands worldwide. The mechanics of BitConnect were as complex as they were opaque. At its heart was a lending platform, inviting investors to lend their Bitcoin in exchange for the platform's native token, BitConnect Coin. Promises of daily profits were supposedly fueled by a proprietary volatility software, a trading bot cloaked in secrecy and never independently verified. An elaborate multi-level marketing structure underpinned the scheme, rewarding investors not just on their own deposits, but on the deposits of those they recruited. It was a system that thrived on expansion, feeding off new participants to pay earlier ones. Yet, as with all such schemes, the end was inevitable. Despite early warnings from analysts and skeptics, the promise of easy money was too seductive. The fervor of the market, driven by social media and the allure of quick wealth, drowned out cautionary voices. By the time the warnings had grown too loud to ignore, the collapse was imminent. In the aftermath, the identity of BitConnect's creator remained elusive, a phantom in the shadows. Efforts to recover the lost billions have, for the most part, proved futile. Investors, left grappling with the shock of sudden loss, were faced with the bitter reality that their dreams had been built on sand. As we embark on this exploration of the loudest scam in history, we peel back the layers of BitConnect's rise and fall. From the feverish highs of its initial promise to the devastating lows of its collapse, we seek to understand the human stories entwined within this tale. What drove so many to believe, and what lessons can be learned from this extraordinary saga? Now, keep your eyes closed and listen closely. Chapter 1 beckons, as we step into the year where dreams danced on the edge of reality, and the world watched cryptocurrency redefine the landscape of investment. Chapter 1 beckons, as we step into the year where dreams danced on the edge of reality, and the world watched cryptocurrency redefine the landscape of investment. The year was 2017, a year that dawned with Bitcoin quietly trading at about $1,000 in January. By December, its price had skyrocketed to nearly $20,000. This meteoric rise was not just a number on a screen. It was the trigger for a feverish frenzy. People from all walks of life, across continents, found themselves entranced by the promise of cryptocurrency's golden allure. In homes, offices, and cafes, conversations about blockchains and digital coins permeated the air. For many, it carried the promise of untold wealth, a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to leapfrog into a new era of prosperity. In this whirlwind, a new player emerged, one that would captivate and devastate in equal measure: BitConnect. Founded by a shadowy presence, buried beneath layers of anonymity, BitConnect promised an astonishing return on investment. It was a promise that shone brighter than any previous get-rich-quick scheme. BitConnect offered returns of up to 40% per month, a figure so enticing it seemed almost magical. Its mechanism was simple on the surface, yet obscured by complex layers of jargon that masked its true nature. Investors were led to believe their money was being diligently multiplied by a sophisticated trading bot. This volatility software, as it was called, purportedly navigated the peaks and troughs of the cryptocurrency market with unparalleled acumen. But beneath this veneer of technological wizardry lay the heart of a Ponzi scheme. The profits paid to older investors were merely the investments of new ones. Despite the warning signs, the scheme proliferated, drawing in thousands of eager participants. The allure of BitConnect was not just in its promises of wealth. It was in the community it fostered, a vast, ever-growing network of individuals bound by a common dream. Online forums buzzed with testimonials of overnight riches, and social media was awash with tales of success. One notable figure during this period was Carlos Matos, a network marketing promoter from New York. In October of 2017, he took the stage at a cryptocurrency conference in Tenerife, Spain. His animated speech, brimming with enthusiasm and fervor, quickly went viral. Matos's exuberance became emblematic of the larger phenomenon surrounding BitConnect. To many, he symbolized not just the potential for financial gain, but the intoxicating spirit of belief that permeated this digital gold rush. Investors flocked to BitConnect in droves, each one hoping to carve out their piece of the burgeoning crypto landscape. By the end of 2017, BitConnect had raised an estimated $2.5 billion from investors around the world. The platform's native token, BitConnect Coin, saw its value soar, becoming one of the top 20 cryptocurrencies by market capitalization. The system was built on a multi-level marketing structure, enticing participants with commissions to recruit others into the fold. This structure amplified its spread, as every new member became a missionary of BitConnect's message. Despite the utopian facade, there were those who questioned its legitimacy. Analysts and traditional financial experts cast doubt on the sustainability of such high returns. Their warnings, however, were largely drowned out by the loud chorus of fervent believers and the deafening hum of market euphoria. In this climate of unchecked optimism, skepticism was a voice in the wilderness. For the architects of BitConnect, the year 2017 was a masterstroke, a dazzling display of consumer psychology and digital sleight of hand. They hid in the shadows, their identities protected by the cloak of the internet, as the world watched their creation flourish. Yet beneath the surface, cracks began to form. The trading bot's supposed prowess was never independently verified. Rumors circulated about the fragility of the system, and whispers of concern started to ripple through the investor community. Nonetheless, the allure of high returns kept most engaged, as cognitive bias shielded their investments from scrutiny. As the year drew to a close, the momentum of cryptocurrency seemed unstoppable. Bitcoin's ascension to nearly $20,000 was a testament to the industry's explosive potential. BitConnect appeared poised to ride this wave indefinitely, buoyed by the unwavering faith of its investors. But even as 2017 ended in a crescendo of excitement and anticipation, questions lingered in the background. How long could such a scheme sustain itself? And what might happen when the illusion finally shattered? These were not the questions on the lips of most investors, enthralled as they were by the siren song of cryptocurrency's promises. The story of BitConnect in 2017 is one of audacious ambition, a tale woven from the threads of hope, greed, and ultimately deception. It was a year that encapsulated the best and worst of human nature, laid bare on the grand stage of financial speculation. Investors, many of them ordinary people seeking a better life, found themselves swept into a narrative they had little control over. Some reaped rewards, while others were left holding dreams that slipped through their fingers like sand. As we conclude this chapter, we stand on the precipice of what was to come. The year 2018 loomed ahead, a year that would test the foundations upon which BitConnect was built. Would the promises hold, or would the truth unravel, exposing harsh realities? Thus, we turn the page, stepping into a new chapter, where the shadows deepen and the questions grow louder. The stage was set for the next act in this unfolding drama, one that would leave an indelible mark on the world of cryptocurrency. The stage was set for the next act in this unfolding drama, one that would leave an indelible mark on the world of cryptocurrency. BitConnect, a name that would soon become synonymous with both promise and deception, was poised to capture the imaginations and wallets of tens of thousands. As Bitcoin's meteoric rise from approximately $1,000 at the start of 2017 to nearly $20,000 by December dazzled investors, BitConnect offered a tantalizing proposition: unrivaled returns in an increasingly volatile market. This chapter delves into the mechanics of BitConnect's lending platform, shedding light on both its allure and the shadows that surrounded it. BitConnect's appeal lay in its lending platform, where users could lend their Bitcoin in exchange for BitConnect Coin, or BCC. Promising returns of up to 40% per month, the platform capitalized on the speculative frenzy that swept through financial markets in 2017. Investors were lured by the prospect of extraordinary profits, a dream fueled by the unprecedented growth of cryptocurrency values. BCC itself became a commodity, with its value soaring as more people bought into the promise of aggressive growth. At the heart of BitConnect's operation was its so-called trading bot, a powerful piece of software purported to generate substantial profits through market volatility. The creators claimed that this bot harnessed advanced algorithms to predict Bitcoin's price fluctuations, ensuring steady returns on investment. However, the opacity surrounding this technology raised eyebrows among skeptics. No independent verification of the bot's capabilities was ever provided, casting doubts on whether the technology existed at all. The platform's structure was supported by a multi-level marketing (MLM) model, where investors could earn commissions by recruiting others to join the platform. This structure created a network effect, with each new investor acting as a node in an ever-expanding web. Online communities and social media became powerful tools for spreading the word, with platforms like YouTube and Facebook serving as battlegrounds for fervent endorsements. Enthusiastic promoters like Carlos Matos from New York became both evangelists and exemplars of the BitConnect phenomenon. Carlos Matos, a figure who would later become infamous for his over-the-top conference appearance, personified the exuberance of this era. In October 2017, during a cryptocurrency conference in Tenerife, Spain, Matos delivered a performance that would go viral around the world. His enthusiastic chants and declarations of financial freedom encapsulated both the hope and absurdity of BitConnect's rise. For many, Matos's speech was a rallying cry, a testament to the life-changing potential of this new financial frontier. The allure of BitConnect wasn't confined to the United States. By late 2017, the platform had attracted hundreds of thousands of investors globally, from Europe to Asia, Africa to South America. The promise of life-altering wealth reached every corner of the world, with investors from all walks of life entrusting their savings to a platform they scarcely understood. For many, this was more than just a financial opportunity. It was a chance to rewrite their futures. Yet beneath this glittering surface, concerns were beginning to brew. Analysts and skeptics issued warnings about the platform's unsustainable model, comparing it to infamous Ponzi schemes of the past. Critics argued that BitConnect's returns were too good to be true, and that the entire operation relied on a constant influx of new money to keep afloat. Despite these warnings, the investment frenzy continued unabated, largely fueled by the echo chambers of online forums and social media groups. As the year drew to a close, BitConnect's founders remained shrouded in mystery. the identities of those behind the platform were never definitively identified, adding another layer of intrigue to an already enigmatic operation. Even as more people poured their funds into the platform, the questions about who was truly pulling the strings remained unanswered. Meanwhile, the cryptocurrency landscape was evolving rapidly. The unprecedented rise of Bitcoin and other digital currencies in 2017 had captured the global zeitgeist, transforming financial markets and challenging traditional notions of currency and investment. In this context, BitConnect positioned itself as a revolutionary force, promising to democratize wealth and financial opportunity for the masses. Yet for all its rhetoric, the fundamental mechanics of its operation remained opaque and untested. By the end of the year, BitConnect had reportedly raised an estimated $2.5 billion from investors, a staggering sum that underscored the scale of its impact. For a time, it seemed as though the platform was truly unstoppable, a juggernaut in the burgeoning world of cryptocurrency. Investors who had entered the market early saw their holdings swell, reinforcing the narrative of BitConnect as a ticket to unimaginable riches. Yet, for all the success stories, there were signs of stress beginning to show. As with any system dependent on constant growth, the question loomed large: what would happen if the influx of new investors began to slow? The very structure that had allowed BitConnect to flourish also made it vulnerable to the slightest disruption in momentum. The answer to this question would soon become apparent, setting the stage for one of the most spectacular collapses in the history of financial scams. As 2018 dawned, the world was about to witness the unraveling of BitConnect, and with it, the dreams and fortunes of those who had placed their trust in this glittering promise. Each step that led to this point was a chapter in a larger story, a story not just about cryptocurrency, but about human nature, trust, and the allure of easy wealth. The foundation had been laid, the players were in place, and the next chapter was poised to unfold, dramatically and irrevocably, in the eyes of a waiting world. The foundation had been laid, the players were in place, and the next chapter was poised to unfold, dramatically and irrevocably, in the eyes of a waiting world. Carlos Matos stepped onto the stage at the cryptocurrency conference in Tenerife, Spain, on an October day in 2017. His energy was palpable, infectious, as he launched into a passionate declaration, not just of faith, but of salvation, through BitConnect. For many who watched, both in person and across the internet, this moment encapsulated the exuberance and absurdity of the BitConnect phenomenon. Carlos Matos was not just another investor. He was a network marketing promoter hailing from New York, whose charisma and enthusiasm were hard to ignore. That October, he found himself in a position he perhaps never imagined, standing under the bright lights in front of a crowd of crypto enthusiasts, his voice rising and falling with earnest fervor. The conference itself was a congregation of believers, each drawn by the promise of financial revolution. BitConnect had promised returns of up to 40% per month, an offer almost too good to refuse. Yet, as Matos's voice soared, skeptics were grimacing. They saw through the dazzling veneer to the unstable foundation beneath. To understand the full scope of BitConnect's rise, we must first grasp the atmosphere of 2017. Bitcoin, the flagship cryptocurrency, had skyrocketed from approximately $1,000 at the beginning of the year to nearly $20,000 by December. This astronomical rise created a fertile ground for schemes promising wealth beyond imagination. BitConnect thrived in this chaotic garden, attracting hundreds of thousands worldwide. BitConnect's global reach was not the result of an intricate marketing strategy developed in corporate boardrooms, but rather the unregulated spread of rumors and testimonials. Online communities on platforms like YouTube and Reddit buzzed with stories of overnight fortunes. Enthusiastic promoters shared their success stories without restraint, encouraging others to join. Yet it was Matos's infamous "hey, hey, hey" that became a rallying cry, a surreal emblem of the time. His ecstatic proclamation, immortalized in viral video, beckoned more investors into the fold. People saw this moment as both a peak of excitement and a reflection of the irrational exuberance that had gripped many. BitConnect's allure lay not just in its promised returns, but in the community that it fostered. Investors were encouraged to recruit others, earning commissions through a multi-level marketing structure. This system rapidly expanded BitConnect's user base, even as the trading bot's volatility software lacked independent verification. The platform's native token, BitConnect Coin, became a measure of one's faith and standing within the community. As its value surged, so did the zeal of its promoters. Despite early warnings from analysts and skeptics about BitConnect's unsustainable model, the community largely ignored them. The fervor was too intoxicating, fed by the relentless upward trajectory of cryptocurrency prices. For those on the outside, the enthusiasm was baffling. Critics pointed out the impossibility of the promised returns and the lack of transparency about the trading mechanism. However, their voices were largely drowned out by the din of believers celebrating their newfound wealth, at least on paper. In the midst of this frenzy, the identity of BitConnect's creator remained a mystery. This veil of anonymity added a layer of intrigue, contributing to both the allure and the suspicion surrounding the platform. Investors seemed untroubled by this oversight, perhaps comforted by the community spirit or too blinded by the potential profits. On paper, BitConnect had raised an estimated $2.5 billion from investors. This staggering sum highlighted the scale of the phenomenon and the level of trust placed in what was essentially a digital mirage. As 2017 drew to a close, signs of instability began to emerge, though few were willing to heed them. The players in this vast, unfolding drama, the investors, the promoters, the anonymous architects, were all caught in a web of their own making. Each decision to invest, to recruit, or to remain silent when doubts surfaced was a thread that tightened the web. As 2018 dawned, the tension in these threads was palpable, though still largely unacknowledged by those inside the network. The global reach of BitConnect was by then undeniable. Its influence had spread far beyond the borders of any single country, touching lives in ways both profound and destructive. While many reveled in their perceived success, others began to worry. A handful of voices continued to warn of impending disaster, their calls growing more urgent with each passing day. These warning signs were not new, nor were they particularly obscure. Analysts had been sounding the alarm almost since BitConnect's inception, pointing to the mathematical impossibility of its claims. But the power of collective belief, once ignited, is not easily extinguished. In the hearts and minds of its adherents, BitConnect was more than an investment. It was a movement, a revolution in wealth creation. This fervor was perhaps best captured in the viral moment of Carlos Matos, a symbol of the highs that BitConnect promised. Yet beneath the surface, the cracks were widening. The very mechanisms that had fueled its rise were beginning to falter, setting the stage for what would be a swift and brutal collapse. As the year came to a close, the future of BitConnect hung in a precarious balance, teetering between euphoria and catastrophe. The events that would soon unfold were set to test the very fabric of the faith that had been woven so intricately over months of unchecked enthusiasm. In the next chapter, we will explore the warning signs that were ignored, the voices that were silenced, and the truths that were too painful to confront. The collapse of BitConnect was imminent, but its lessons were still to be understood. As we turn the page, we approach the precipice of a financial and emotional reckoning. The reach of BitConnect extended far beyond borders, unfurling a web that captured imaginations and investments alike. From bustling metropolitan centers to quiet rural enclaves, individuals around the globe were drawn into a world that promised financial freedom. The allure was not merely financial, it was emotional, a beacon of hope in uncertain times. BitConnect was a testament to the power of digital connections. Online forums buzzed with discussions, advice, and tales of overnight success. Social media platforms became echo chambers, amplifying the promise of extraordinary returns and drowning out dissenting voices. Influencers and self-proclaimed gurus emerged, sharing links and referral codes, which spread like wildfire through communities. In India, a country with rapidly growing internet access and a burgeoning interest in cryptocurrencies, BitConnect found fertile ground. Enthusiastic investors, some investing their entire savings, flocked to the platform. The promise of up to 40% returns per month was irresistible. Similarly, in Nigeria, the narrative of cryptocurrency as a ticket to prosperity resonated deeply. Here, where traditional banking systems often excluded vast segments of the population, BitConnect seemed to offer an alternative financial pathway. The phenomenon was not confined to developing nations. In the United States, where the value of Bitcoin skyrocketed from approximately $1,000 in January 2017 to nearly $20,000 by December of the same year, BitConnect's appeal was magnified. Investors, both novice and seasoned, saw an opportunity to capitalize on this digital gold rush. As the months marched on, BitConnect's reach continued to expand. According to estimates, the platform raised an astonishing $2.5 billion from investors worldwide by the time of its collapse. The scale of its success was undeniably impressive, yet it was only part of the story. Underneath the surface, the mechanics that underpinned BitConnect's operations were anything but transparent. The heart of BitConnect's model was its lending platform, where investors exchanged their Bitcoin for BitConnect Coin, the platform's native token. These tokens were then lent back to BitConnect in exchange for daily interest. The promised returns, facilitated by a purportedly sophisticated trading bot, were never independently verified. Despite this lack of transparency, the returns continued to flow, and for a time, faith in the system seemed justified. Yet alongside the euphoria, there were whispers of unease. Analysts and skeptics began to issue warnings, questioning the sustainability of a model that promised such spectacular returns without clear evidence to back them up. Some pointed to the platform's multi-level marketing structure, where commissions were earned by recruiting new investors, as a classic hallmark of a Ponzi scheme. In online cryptocurrency circles, debates raged. Defenders of BitConnect heralded it as a revolutionary financial system, while critics decried it as a house of cards. The tug-of-war between belief and skepticism was palpable and often personal. For every voice raised in caution, there were many more urging action, often with the zeal of the converted. The human stories behind these investments were as varied as they were poignant. Take, for instance, the story of Maria Gonzalez, a single mother from Mexico City who dreamt of providing a better future for her children. Entranced by the potential of cryptocurrency, she invested her modest savings into BitConnect. Or consider Raj Patel, a young software developer in Bangalore, who saw in BitConnect the chance to leapfrog into a new financial echelon. These individuals, and countless others like them, were driven by the hope that BitConnect might be the vehicle for achieving their dreams. Their stories were not unique, but rather emblematic of a global narrative. They were drawn in by the dream of financial liberation, a dream that resonated across cultures and borders. Even as warnings grew more vocal and specific, they were often dismissed. In a financial climate where Bitcoin had defied skeptics and soared to unimaginable heights, the implausible seemed plausible. Many investors, intoxicated by the rapid appreciation of digital currencies, were willing to overlook red flags. By October 2017, as Carlos Matos took the stage at a cryptocurrency conference in Tenerife, Spain, to deliver the now infamous speech, BitConnect's momentum appeared unstoppable. His exuberant energy, captured in a viral video, epitomized the irrational exuberance surrounding the platform. The conference was a showcase, a celebration of BitConnect's success, attended by investors from around the world. Yet beneath the surface, cracks were beginning to show. Regulatory scrutiny was intensifying, with financial authorities in multiple countries starting to take notice. On November 7, 2017, the Texas State Securities Board issued a cease and desist order, citing concerns over fraud. Similar warnings soon followed from the UK and other jurisdictions. These warnings, however, seemed to have little immediate impact on BitConnect's growth. Investors, buoyed by the returns they were seeing, remained largely undeterred. As social media continued to circulate success stories, the warnings were often lost in the cacophony of optimism. By the end of 2017, the stage was set for what would become one of the most dramatic collapses in cryptocurrency history. The signs were there, but in the euphoria of the moment, they were all too easy to ignore. Investors, blinded by the glow of financial promise, continued to pour in. As we turn toward the next chapter, the question lingers: what happens when a dream begins to unravel? BitConnect's story was about to take a dramatic turn, and its impact would be felt around the world. BitConnect's story was about to take a dramatic turn, and its impact would be felt around the world. As the calendar turned to late 2017, the cracks in BitConnect's glittering facade began to widen. Analysts and financial watchdogs were openly questioning the legitimacy of the returns promised by the platform. Despite these growing concerns, many investors chose to ignore the warnings. On paper, BitConnect appeared unassailable. It had raised an astonishing $2.5 billion from investors, promising returns of up to 40% per month. But beneath this surface, the operation was beginning to falter. A series of red flags emerged, suggesting that the promises might be too good to be true. One of the most vocal critics was Vitalik Buterin, the co-founder of Ethereum. In November 2017, he tweeted a stark warning about the platform's unsustainable model. Buterin compared BitConnect to a Ponzi scheme, urging caution among the cryptocurrency community. His words were echoed by other influential voices in the space. Yet for many, the allure of high returns eclipsed the truth. In forums and online communities, whispers of doubt became harder to ignore. Investors like Liam Dunn from Manchester began to question the opaque nature of BitConnect's trading bot. This so-called volatility software claimed to generate the promised profits, yet it was never independently verified. The lack of transparency was troubling, but for many, the excitement of the cryptocurrency boom overshadowed these concerns. As 2017 drew to a close, regulatory scrutiny intensified. Authorities in Texas and North Carolina issued cease and desist orders in early January 2018. The Texas State Securities Board pointed to the platform's unregistered securities offerings as a major violation. This regulatory pressure marked the beginning of the end for BitConnect. On January 16, 2018, BitConnect announced it was shutting down its lending and exchange platform. The news sent shockwaves through the cryptocurrency world. Investors watched in disbelief as the value of BitConnect coin plummeted by over 90% overnight. The collapse wiped out fortunes, leaving many to grapple with the sudden loss. Among the affected was Jessica Nguyen, a single mother from California. She had invested her life savings, hoping to secure a future for her young son. When BitConnect folded, she faced financial ruin. Stories like Jessica's were tragically common, each one a testament to the potent mix of hope and desperation that had fueled BitConnect's rise. The collapse sparked a frenzy of legal action. Lawsuits were filed across the globe as victims sought to recover their lost investments. Yet, the path to justice was fraught with challenges, given the shadowy nature of the platform's operators. The true architects of BitConnect remained elusive, with their identities shrouded in mystery. The U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, launched an investigation, eager to understand how such a scheme had flourished. Their findings would later reveal a complex web of deceit, highlighting the need for greater regulation within the cryptocurrency space. The lack of oversight had enabled BitConnect to thrive, leaving a trail of devastation in its wake. Many within the crypto community grappled with feelings of betrayal. They had embraced BitConnect as a symbol of the new financial era, only to see it unravel spectacularly. Trust was shattered, and the event cast a long shadow over the future of digital currencies. Investors like Liam Dunn reflected on their own naivety, vowing never to be fooled again. The question of accountability loomed large. Who was responsible for this monumental collapse? Investigators pursued leads across continents, interviewing former promoters and scouring financial records. Yet the more they uncovered, the more complex the puzzle became. In the months following the collapse, BitConnect became a cautionary tale. Conferences and seminars dissected the rise and fall of the platform, seeking lessons to prevent future scams. The cryptocurrency community, once brimming with unchecked optimism, now approached new ventures with skepticism and wariness. Amid the chaos, Carlos Matos reemerged, his viral moment having taken on a new meaning. He became a reluctant symbol of the folly that had gripped investors, his exuberance a stark contrast to the grim reality that followed. For Matos, the experience was a sobering reminder of the volatility and unpredictability of the crypto world. As the dust settled, efforts to trace the missing funds intensified. Forensic accountants traced the money through a labyrinth of digital transactions, revealing the extent of the deception. Yet, for many victims, justice felt elusive, as the masterminds remained in the shadows, beyond the reach of law enforcement. Regulatory bodies worldwide took note. BitConnect's collapse prompted a re-evaluation of cryptocurrency's regulatory landscape. New guidelines were proposed, aiming to protect investors and prevent a repeat of such a catastrophic failure. The conversation around digital currency was changing, molded by the lessons of BitConnect's downfall. As January 2018 ended, the reality of the situation set in. BitConnect was gone, but its legacy lingered. The cryptocurrency market, once buoyed by dreams of easy wealth, now faced a sobering reckoning. Investors would need to rebuild trust and reassess their understanding of risk in this brave new world. In the aftermath, stories of resilience emerged. Some investors found a renewed commitment to due diligence, seeking to educate themselves and others. They became advocates for transparency and accountability, determined to make the cryptocurrency space safer for everyone. These efforts marked the beginning of a cautious rebirth. Yet, as the world moved forward, one question remained unanswered. Who truly orchestrated BitConnect? This mystery lingered on, fueling speculation and intrigue. The search for answers continued, driven by a collective desire for closure and justice. The story of BitConnect was far from over. Its collapse set in motion a series of events that would reshape the landscape of cryptocurrency. As we turn to the next chapter, we delve deeper into the aftermath and the ongoing quest for accountability. The lessons of the past guide our journey forward. The lessons of the past guide our journey forward. But sometimes, amidst the noise and excitement, warnings vanish into the ether, unheard. BitConnect's collapse on January 16, 2018 was sudden yet inevitable. As the world watched, an empire built on shaky promises crumbled. The morning of January 16th began like any other for BitConnect investors. But by midday, an announcement on the BitConnect website sent shockwaves through their community. BitConnect declared the immediate shutdown of its lending and exchange platform. The news shattered confidence, unraveling months of false assurances. Investors were blindsided. Many had entrusted their savings, dreams, and futures to a platform that promised them the moon. The allure of monthly returns as high as 40% had been intoxicating. Now, Those once dreamlike gains turned into haunting losses. It was a day that many would remember not just for the financial loss, but for the emotional devastation. Stories from around the world poured in, revealing personal tragedies tied to BitConnect's fall. John, a retiree from Texas, had invested his entire pension, believing it was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. For him, the loss was more than just monetary. It was a shattering blow to his hard-earned security. In India, a country that had become a significant hub for BitConnect investors, the collapse led to despair and outrage. Local meetups that once buzzed with optimism turned into gatherings of disbelief and regret. Many investors had pooled family resources, further entwining personal relationships with financial turmoil. Even as the dust began to settle, questions loomed large. How could a venture that amassed an estimated $2.5 billion unravel so quickly? While some pointed to regulatory pressures from authorities in Texas and North Carolina which had issued cease and desist orders, others saw it as the inevitable end of a Ponzi scheme. The cease and desist orders were significant. On January 3, 2018, the Texas State Securities Board accused BitConnect of selling unregistered securities. This legal action intensified scrutiny and fear, leading to a ripple of withdrawals that stressed BitConnect's financial mechanisms. On January 9th, North Carolina's Secretary of State issued another cease and desist order. These actions highlighted the regulatory noose tightening around BitConnect, though they arrived perhaps too late for thousands. By the time BitConnect's platform was shuttered, the damage was done. The aftermath of the collapse was swift and brutal. The value of BitConnect coin plummeted, wiping out fortunes overnight. Once valued at over $400, the cryptocurrency's price fell to below $1 within days. Investors were left holding tokens now worth a fraction of their initial value. In forums and social media groups, disbelief gave way to anger. BitConnect's forums, once bustling with activity and optimism, filled with recriminations and despair. Victims shared stories, bonded by a shared sense of betrayal and loss. The collapse had a ripple effect. Other cryptocurrency projects faced scrutiny as trust within the wider digital currency community took a hit. For many, BitConnect became a cautionary tale, a stark reminder of unchecked greed and ambition. In the aftermath, regulatory bodies around the world began to intensify their focus on cryptocurrency ventures. The U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission issued warnings against investment schemes promising extravagant returns without substantial proof. Globally, financial watchdogs sought to protect investors from similar pitfalls. Yet for many who had invested, the story was far from over. Legal battles ensued as authorities in multiple countries sought to hold those responsible accountable. Despite these efforts, the identity of BitConnect's true creator remained elusive. Throughout the chaos, one figure remained conspicuously absent: Carlos Matos. His exuberant declarations and infectious energy had once epitomized the promise of BitConnect. In the wake of the collapse, Matos disappeared from the public eye, leaving many to question his role and complicity. His legendary enthusiasm became a poignant symbol of unexamined exuberance turned sour. What had been a viral moment of joy now felt like an unwitting act in a grand deception. For Matos and countless others, BitConnect's fall was a sobering lesson in the perils of unchecked optimism. The narrative of BitConnect's fall is more than a story of financial ruin. It is a reminder of the human consequences behind faceless transactions and digital promises. The dreams that were dashed, the lives altered, underscore the deep impact of financial deception. January 16, 2018, marked the end of BitConnect, but for many, it was the beginning of a long road to recovery. As lawsuits unfolded and investigations continued, the echoes of BitConnect's collapse reverberated throughout the cryptocurrency world. The lessons learned from this debacle continue to shape investor behavior and regulatory approaches. As the world looks back on BitConnect, It serves as a chilling reminder of the vulnerabilities inherent within emerging financial landscapes. While the dust has settled and the initial shock has subsided, the journey to uncover the full truth of BitConnect continues. For those affected, seeking justice and understanding remains paramount. In the shadows of BitConnect's demise, a new chapter begins, one that explores the aftermath and the quest for accountability. The road ahead may be uncertain, but the pursuit of truth never wavers. As we prepare to delve into the aftermath of this notorious saga, we must ask, who will answer for the dreams turned to dust? Who will rebuild trust in a landscape so deeply shaken? These questions set the stage for our next chapter, the aftermath. As the dust settled on BitConnect's spectacular collapse in January 2018, the echoes of its implosion reverberated far beyond the world of cryptocurrency. Investors who had once believed in the promise of financial liberation now found themselves grappling with the harsh reality of their losses. The aftermath was a complex web of legal battles, emotional scars, and the relentless pursuit of justice. In the immediate wake of BitConnect's downfall, regulatory bodies across the globe scrambled to respond. The United States Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, swiftly launched an investigation to uncover the extent of the fraud. Their focus was on identifying those responsible and attempting to claw back what remained of the $2.5 billion lost by investors. This was a Herculean task, given the scheme's intricate and deceptive structure. The collapse of BitConnect also triggered a wave of lawsuits in various jurisdictions. In the United States, a class action lawsuit was filed against BitConnect and its promoters in the Southern District of Florida. Lead plaintiff Brian Page, like many others, sought compensation for the losses incurred. The lawsuit alleged that BitConnect operated a Ponzi scheme, violating federal securities laws. The human stories emerging from the wreckage were as varied as they were heartbreaking. In India, where BitConnect had a significant following, the fallout was particularly severe. Many investors, having sold family heirlooms or taken loans to invest, were left destitute. Stories of individuals like Rajesh Sharma, a small business owner from Mumbai, highlighted the devastating personal impact. Having invested his life savings, Rajesh now faced financial ruin and a bleak future. Meanwhile, investigators sought to untangle the web of those behind BitConnect. The identities of its creators were shrouded in mystery, adding layers of complexity to the investigations. While figures like Satish Kumbhani were named in various legal documents, proving their direct involvement in orchestrating the scheme was challenging. The anonymity afforded by the online nature of cryptocurrency made tracing these individuals a daunting task. Adding to the complexity was the international reach of BitConnect. With victims spread across continents, from Europe to Asia to the Americas, coordinating legal and investigative efforts became a formidable challenge. Law enforcement agencies had to navigate a labyrinth of jurisdictions, each with its own legal framework and procedural intricacies. As the investigations continued, the broader cryptocurrency community grappled with the implications of the scandal. BitConnect's collapse had cast a long shadow over the burgeoning industry, raising questions about its regulation and the trustworthiness of new projects. For many, the event became a cautionary tale, a stark reminder of the risks inherent in the world of digital currencies. Efforts to recover the lost funds yielded mixed results. In some cases, assets linked to BitConnect were seized by authorities. However, the decentralized and often opaque nature of cryptocurrencies complicated these efforts. The ability to move funds quickly and anonymously across borders made asset recovery a slow and arduous process. Despite these challenges, there were glimmers of hope for some investors. In 2021, the U.S. Department of Justice announced the seizure of $56 million worth of cryptocurrency, which was intended to compensate victims. Although this represented only a fraction of the total losses, It was a symbolic victory in the quest for justice. For those directly affected by the collapse, the emotional toll was significant. Many investors experienced feelings of shame and betrayal, having placed their trust and hard-earned money into what they believed was a legitimate opportunity. Support groups and online forums became crucial spaces for individuals to share their experiences and seek solace in a community of fellow sufferers. The impact of BitConnect's demise also resonated within regulatory circles. Governments around the world began to scrutinize the cryptocurrency market with increased rigor. New legislation and guidelines were implemented to protect investors and prevent similar schemes from taking hold. These regulatory shifts marked a turning point in how cryptocurrencies were perceived and managed. BitConnect's story was not just one of financial loss, but of a profound human experience. It highlighted the vulnerabilities and aspirations that drive individuals to seek out new opportunities, even in the face of uncertainty. For many, the lessons learned from BitConnect's downfall became a valuable, albeit painful, education in financial literacy and caution. Yet, the full impact of BitConnect's collapse on the cryptocurrency landscape remained an evolving narrative. As new technologies and platforms emerged, questions about how to balance innovation with oversight persisted. The challenge was to encourage growth within the cryptocurrency sector while safeguarding against potential abuses. This balancing act defined the industry's future trajectory. The search for BitConnect's architects continued to pique the interest of both authorities and the public. The elusive nature of those responsible kept the story alive, a mystery that demanded resolution. As investigations progressed, the hope of achieving justice and closure for victims provided a sense of momentum. As we look forward to the next chapter, the legacy of BitConnect stands as both a warning and a lesson. It underscores the need for vigilance and integrity within an industry defined by rapid change and boundless potential. How the cryptocurrency world responds to these challenges will shape its future, forging a path that honors both innovation and responsibility. In the wake of BitConnect, the journey toward understanding this complex landscape continues, with new stories and lessons on the horizon. This narrative of recovery, resilience, and reinvention sets the stage for our next exploration: the legacy left behind and the lessons learned. This narrative of recovery, resilience, and reinvention sets the stage for our next exploration: the legacy left behind and the lessons learned. As the dust settled from BitConnect's dramatic collapse, the world faced the daunting task of picking up the pieces. Investors were left grappling with lost fortunes, regulatory bodies scrambled to tighten controls, and the global cryptocurrency community was forced to reflect on its vulnerabilities. The year 2018 unfolded like a somber aftermath, shadowed by the echoes of shattered dreams and fortunes. In the wake of BitConnect's downfall, many investors found themselves at a crossroads. Take, for example, Susan Kim, an investor from San Francisco. Susan had invested her savings, believing in the promise of substantial returns that BitConnect dangled so enticingly. Her story is not unique. It resonates with tens of thousands across the globe who place their trust in glossy marketing and viral fervor. As January of 2018 came to an end, the once booming BitConnect coin plummeted from nearly $500 to less than $1 overnight. This precipitous drop starkly illustrated the fragility of perceived wealth, built on promises rather than tangible assets. For regulators and law enforcement agencies worldwide, this collapse was both a clarion call and a perplexing quandary. The first legal actions took shape quietly but resolutely. On January 16, 2018, Texas and North Carolina issued cease and desist letters, targeting BitConnect's operations and freezing its activities within their jurisdictions. These actions signaled the start of broader legal scrutiny, as authorities began piecing together the intricate tapestry of deceit that BitConnect had woven. Yet, The complexity of the investigation was daunting. The architects behind BitConnect had skillfully masked their identities, employing layers of digital obscurity and offshore shell companies. The anonymity intrinsic to cryptocurrency exchanges only compounded these challenges, creating a labyrinthine trail for investigators to follow. Despite the setbacks, the resolve to bring justice for deceived investors remained unwavering. Meanwhile, the public sphere was rife with discourse. Discussions buzzed on forums like Bitcoin Talk and Reddit, where users swapped stories of losses and theories about BitConnect's masterminds. Online communities, once spaces of shared optimism, transformed into hubs of skepticism and caution. This marked a pivotal shift in how individuals approached investment opportunities within the burgeoning crypto landscape. In April 2018, the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission (SEC) stepped into the fray with a formal investigation into BitConnect's operations. This move underscored the organization's commitment to protecting investors and maintaining market integrity. The SEC's involvement lent a semblance of hope to those who had suffered losses, signaling that their plight had not gone unnoticed. As 2018 progressed, the cryptocurrency industry began to slowly adapt and evolve. New regulations emerged, designed to safeguard against future scams of similar magnitude. Japan, a major player in the cryptocurrency market, implemented stringent policies to regulate exchanges and protect investors. This regulatory evolution, while criticized by some as overly restrictive, aimed to restore trust and stability in digital currencies. At the same time, individual stories of resilience and recovery began to surface. Among them was David Johnson, a software engineer from Chicago who had lost nearly $10,000 in the BitConnect debacle. Refusing to succumb to despair, David channeled his energies into educating others about the perils of unverified investment schemes. His blog and local seminars on financial literacy and cryptocurrency became a beacon for those seeking guidance. Globally, the collective experience of the BitConnect catastrophe prompted a re-evaluation of investor education and due diligence. Financial advisors and educators amplified their efforts, emphasizing the importance of skepticism and research when navigating complex investment landscapes. This educational push aimed to equip potential investors with the tools necessary to discern credible opportunities from predatory schemes. By late 2019, several lawsuits against BitConnect's promoters began to take shape. These legal battles, while fraught with challenges, aimed to recover some of the estimated $2.5 billion lost to the scheme. Class action lawsuits, spearheaded by affected investors, sought restitution and accountability. Although these proceedings moved at a glacial pace, they represented a step towards justice and closure for many. Throughout this period, the identity of BitConnect's creator remained elusive. The enigmatic figurehead behind the scheme, known only through digital aliases, managed to evade concrete identification. This anonymity underscored a broader issue within the cryptocurrency domain: the difficulty of holding individuals accountable amidst a sea of digital transactions and pseudonyms. Despite these challenges, the efforts to unravel BitConnect's operations continued. In 2020, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, FBI, announced a renewed focus on the case, seeking information from victims and collaborators alike. This initiative was part of a broader strategy to enhance international cooperation in tackling cryptocurrency-related crimes. As the investigation unfolded, BitConnect's legacy loomed large over the cryptocurrency world. It served as a stark reminder of the risks inherent in the unregulated digital frontier. The ripple effects of the scheme not only altered perceptions, but also galvanized a movement towards greater transparency and accountability in the industry. The lessons learned from BitConnect continue to resonate in regulatory circles and among investors. With each new regulation and educational initiative, the memory of BitConnect serves as a cautionary tale, reminding all of the importance of vigilance in the face of enticing yet dubious promises. It is within this context of reflection and reform that we transition to our next exploration, examining the broader implications of BitConnect on the cryptocurrency ecosystem and what lies ahead. It is within this context of reflection and reform that we transition to our next exploration, examining the broader implications of BitConnect on the cryptocurrency ecosystem and what lies ahead. BitConnect's rise and fall were not isolated phenomena. Instead, they were deeply interwoven into the fabric of a rapidly evolving financial world. As we delve into the legacy of this infamous scheme, it becomes critical to understand how it has shaped perceptions and regulations in the years that followed. In 2017, the cryptocurrency market was like the Wild West of finance. Bitcoin, the digital currency that had sparked the movement, skyrocketed from approximately $1,000 in January to nearly $20,000 by December of the same year. This meteoric rise led many to believe that cryptocurrencies were the gold mines of the digital age, ready to be tapped with little more than an internet connection and some savvy investing. BitConnect seized this opportunity, offering a platform that promised its users substantial returns, up to 40% each month, through its native token, the BitConnect coin. The allure of these returns was irresistible to many, and BitConnect was able to raise an estimated $2.5 billion from investors worldwide. Its marketing was aggressive, employing a multi-level marketing structure that incentivized users to recruit new investors. The trading bot, which was purportedly powered by sophisticated volatility software, was never independently verified. Yet, in the fervor of the time, such warnings went largely unheeded. Carlos Matos, a network marketing promoter from New York, became the unlikely face of BitConnect. His exuberant performance at a cryptocurrency conference in Tenerife, Spain, in October 2017, encapsulated both the excitement and absurdity of the moment. The viral video of his passionate endorsement, filled with the now infamous chant, BitConnect, became a symbol of the era's speculative excess. BitConnect's global reach was profound. From rural villages in India to bustling metropolises like London and New York, the promise of easy wealth spread rapidly through online communities and social media platforms. Investors, driven by the fear of missing out, poured their savings into the platform. The allure of the digital gold rush was strong, and few stopped to question the legitimacy of the operation they were supporting. However, not everyone was taken in by BitConnect's promises. Analysts and skeptics raised early warnings about the unsustainable nature of the model. These voices, though initially drowned out by the noise of exuberance, were ultimately proven correct when BitConnect collapsed in January 2018. The sudden closure of the lending platform left thousands of investors in financial ruin, their dreams of quick wealth shattered. In the aftermath, the scramble to piece together what had happened was both frantic and somber. Legal actions were swift, with regulators from Texas and North Carolina leading the charge in issuing cease and desist orders. The SEC eventually charged several individuals linked to the scheme, though the true mastermind behind BitConnect's creation remains unidentified to this day. The complex web of organized deceit was a stark reminder of the risks inherent in unregulated financial markets. For the cryptocurrency world, BitConnect served as a cautionary tale. The incident highlighted significant vulnerabilities within the industry, urging both investors and regulators to seek deeper understanding and oversight. The collapse prompted immediate efforts to establish more stringent regulations, aiming to protect investors from similar frauds in the future. In countries with burgeoning interest in cryptocurrencies, such as South Korea and Japan, regulatory bodies began implementing tighter controls on cryptocurrency exchanges and initial coin offerings. These measures sought to introduce accountability and transparency, elements that had been sorely lacking during the BitConnect saga. Meanwhile, the US SEC stepped up its enforcement actions, scrutinizing more closely the operations of digital asset companies and their compliance with securities laws. Beyond regulations, BitConnect's legacy also impacted the collective consciousness of the cryptocurrency community. As investors reeled from the losses, a new wave of skepticism emerged, encouraging more prudent and informed decision-making. Trust, once naively given, became a valuable commodity, something to be earned rather than assumed. The human stories behind BitConnect's collapse are a poignant reminder of the scheme's far-reaching consequences. Lives were upended, financial futures shattered. For many, the experience was not just a financial loss, but an emotional betrayal. The promise of a better life had evaporated, leaving behind only the lingering question of how such a scheme could have ever been allowed to flourish. Yet from these ashes, lessons were learned. The cryptocurrency community, while scarred, became more resilient. The focus shifted towards building projects with genuine utility and value, underpinned by transparent business models and robust community governance. This shift has seen the emergence of new technologies and platforms that aim to address the trust issues that BitConnect exposed. The story of BitConnect also serves as a critical case study for future generations of investors and developers in the cryptocurrency space. It underscores the importance of due diligence and the need for a cautious approach to highly speculative investments. The event remains a constant reminder that in the world of finance, promises of extraordinary returns often hide extraordinary risks. As we move forward, the lessons of BitConnect continue to echo. They inform the ongoing dialogue surrounding digital currencies and their place within the broader financial system. The incident has undeniably changed how cryptocurrencies are perceived, prompting discussions around their legitimacy, potential, and the ethical responsibilities of those who promote them. Looking ahead, the cryptocurrency market remains a dynamic and evolving landscape. While BitConnect stands as a sobering chapter in its history, it has also become a catalyst for positive change. Regulators, investors, and developers are now more equipped to handle the complexities of digital finance, fostering an environment that is increasingly safer and more sustainable. In the end, the legacy of BitConnect is one of caution intertwined with hope. It is a testament to the resilience of humanity's pursuit of innovation, even in the face of deception. As we prepare to explore the next chapter, we carry with us the understanding that from every fall, there is potential for renewal and growth. In our next chapter, we will delve into the evolving landscape of cryptocurrency regulations and how they have been influenced by the lessons learned from BitConnect and similar events. In the story of BitConnect, we find echoes of tales as old as commerce itself. It is a reflection of our perennial dance with dreams beyond our reach, entwined with the thin, often invisible threads of trust and desire. At its core, BitConnect was not merely a financial scheme. It was a mirror held up to the faces of those who longed for something more, something quicker, something that promised to rewrite the rules of what it meant to succeed. Underneath the surface of guaranteed returns and viral moments was the timeless allure of transformation, a transformation that seemed within grasp but was always a mirage. The world of 2017 was a place where technology seemed to make the impossible possible. Bitcoin's meteoric rise was not just a financial event, it was a cultural phenomenon. It set the stage for both innovation and illusion, a duality that invited both marvel and mischief. BitConnect capitalized on this, wrapping its deception in the very fabric of the moment, blurring the line between dreams and reality. BitConnect's rise and fall remind us of the fragile nature of trust in the digital age. When lines of code can hold the promise of fortunes or the seeds of ruin, the difference often depends not just on the technology itself, but on the intentions of those who wield it. And yet this story is not merely one of human folly. It is also about resilience. Those who lost are not merely victims, but also bearers of a cautionary tale, a narrative passed down to implore vigilance and wisdom in an ever-changing world. In the aftermath, the lessons learned have begun to shape the future of cryptocurrency. Regulations tighten, communities grow more skeptical, and investors learn to ask the questions that need asking. These are the ripples that follow the stone thrown into the pond, each one a reminder of what was and what could be. BitConnect was a moment in time, a loud, chaotic, captivating moment. As the echoes of its collapse fade, what remains are the quiet truths whispered beneath the noise. Trust, when given too freely, can be as fragile as the dreams we chase. As you let go of today's stories, carry with you the gentle reminder that true rest comes from understanding, from discerning the genuine amidst the glittering facade. Breathe deeply and let your mind drift into the peaceful quiet. Let the lessons of the past cradle you into sleep, into dreams where clarity and calm reside. Rest well. This has been Satoshi's Lullaby.